Yes, people, what's poppin'? Welcome back to Football Therapy with me, your host, Jan. I hope you're doing well, mate. Genuinely do hope that. Welcome back to Chelsea News, of course, the daily series here on the channel where I reflect on the talking points, what's being said about Chelsea at the time, giving you my opinion on it for whatever that's worth, but more importantly, as always, asking for yours. A bunch of things I want to talk about today: the Kepa Arrizabalaga problem, the standoff between Gallagher and Chelsea Football Club, the striker situation. How do Chelsea feel? How do they feel generally about spending money in January again after last year? As well as their general hopes for this current Chelsea squad, the personnel they already have in the books, their hopes for how they can still do this season. Lots of stuff to get into today, guys, so I thank you for joining me. Get comfortable, pour yourself a drink. If you want to support the content, you are most welcome to do so. You can do so simply by liking and subscribing to this channel, Football Therapy. And if you do decide to subscribe, or if you're already subscribed, I recommend that you hit the bell notifications icon so you get notified when I upload. It's important, gang. Alright then, let's get into it. Let's start off with Kepa Arrizabalaga. Of course, Real Madrid won the Cup semi-final yesterday against Atletico Madrid. A bit of a ding-dong in the Madrid derby. Of course, they went into extra time after 3-3 being the scoreline. Real Madrid went on to eventually win this game 5-3. Talking points: Atletico Madrid got a new all-time record goal scorer in Antoine Griezmann, and Kepa Arrizabalaga scored an own goal, nearly single-handedly costing Real Madrid the tie. Now, this is a talking point, a Chelsea talking point of late, because I must remind you, ladies and gentlemen, Kepa Arrizabalaga remains to be a Chelsea player, or shall I say remains a Chelsea player? English is tricky. And of course, he's on loan at Real Madrid currently because Thibaut Courtois is out for the season with an injury, so they needed someone to come in a good level and cover. Of course, the Spanish international Kepa Arrizabalaga, or at least was, a relatively high-profile player. A player, by the way, that Real Madrid was scouting before Chelsea bought him. They were looking at him before they decided to go for Chelsea's Thibaut Courtois. Chelsea ended up activating his buyout clause for £71 million and putting him on, at the time, an unprecedented long contract at 7 years. See, we were still doing Todd Bowley's amortization loophole back in the day. Anyway, come the summer, Kepa will have 1 year left on his deal, and the huge talking point is at the moment is he is now Real Madrid's second choice goalkeeper. Even in the absence of Thibaut Courtois. He went there, he was their starting goalkeeper, he started okay, he slipped down the pecking order, and now he's an expensive loanee who's second choice, who played in a high profile game, a cup game. Of course, second choice goalkeepers often play in cup games, and he made an absolute howler and conceded an own goal. Worrying for us that are trying to flog this guy who, originally cost us a lot of money. I'm not sure how much remains on his book value, but he has massive wages, way too high wages for even Chelsea's first choice goalkeeper under the new wage structure with the new owners. But if Chelsea really are looking at alternatives, because look, man, at the beginning of the season, Kepa was going to be our first choice goalkeeper. Pochettino had accepted that. Obviously, you can speak Spanish to him. Kepa speaks fluent English, but you always think maybe culturally they can connect better in their native tongue, and that was the plan. We brought in Rob Sanchez because Ben Roberts, the goalkeeping coach at Chelsea, likes him, but it was never like, oh, he's going to come in and be number one. As soon as Kepa got a whiff of the opportunity to leave Chelsea, of course, originally it was Bayern Munich to Thomas Tuchel, which he said yes to. And then when Real Madrid came sniffing around, he was like, ooh, let me go to Real Madrid. Either way, he just wanted to get the heck out of Chelsea. I think the love relationship broke off. I'm not sure how good the relationship between Kepa and Chelsea was anyway. He did have a good individual season last campaign, but the thing that really stinks for me is he kept reminding people how he had a good season. Bro, we finished 10th. Stop talking about how good you were. Now, I know that might be frustrating for him, that he probably thought, oh, I had a bit of a, good season. I've got an opportunity to get out of here. Fair enough, whatever. But the sobering truth is, as things are going, they will not buy him, and we will have 170 grand a week goalkeeper coming back to Chelsea, who the current setup of coaches don't fancy as a first team goalkeeper. How are we going to deal with that? I have absolutely no idea, but I want to put it out to you guys, so comment down below how you feel about Kepa, and let's move on. Right, I want to talk about Conor Gallagher now, and much like Kepa, I heard Brandon and Matt Law on the London is Blue podcast speak about this, so this is something that I wanted to speak about. Conor Gallagher wants to stay at Chelsea. He's going nowhere in the January transfer window, which is a story that we've reacted to here before. on the channel. Unless something crazy happens, he'll be staying at Chelsea, which is a good thing ultimately. He plays most minutes. Pochettino likes him, he's his lieutenant on the pitch. He's literally made him third choice captain, which at the moment is captain of Chelsea. And the player himself loves Chelsea Football Club and wants to remain at the club. Now, to regurgitate what the Telegraph journalist Matt Law was saying, it's quite a difficult situation in terms of contract extension. Chelsea would be happy he's playing well, but the fact how he's been made captain and he's playing well has made it difficult for them to foresee what to do with him. They don't know if this form long term is sustainable, and if you give him a contract now on high wages, if in 18 months he's a bit part player again, you know, the captain and vice captain comes back, they would have seen that as a bad business move to put Conor Gallagher on high wages. Now for this next segment, I'm going to speculate just a little bit. I reckon that Chelsea would be comfortable to put him on a deal now, say similar as Mykhailo Mudryk money, which is probably about 94 to 96k a week. Now, Conor Gallagher will view himself as worth way more than that. Let's just say 150k a week, so 50 or 60k more than what they're offering him. He will think, well, I've got an excellent injury record, I'm always available, I always play minutes, I've been seen as a leader, I'm wearing the captain's armband, I've got excellent individual stats this season, and I'm an England international. And ultimately, if you look at the Premier League landscape, if Kai Havertz can go to Arsenal and get paid £300,000 a week, you would think that Conor Gallagher can get paid 150k a week at Chelsea. Conor Gallagher can't be relied on for goals, which often brings money, and neither can Kai Havertz, by the way. But, you know, and there are different kinds of players. I understand that Gallagher is more of the industry type of player, which, you know, rarely get paid as much as the flair and attacking players. That's just how it is. Unless, of course, you're N'Golo Kante, then you're top of the tree for the industry style player and you get paid whatever you want. I think for any other club like Chelsea's rivals, without the current Chelsea wage structure, whether it's Manchester United, you know, Arsenal, or maybe Tottenham or something, Gallagher would get 150k a week. But I think the Chelsea ownership are probably thinking, if he stayed playing like this, then it'd be worth it. Of course, I think Moises Caicedo is on 150k a week. He kind of breaks the Mudryk, Enzo Fernandez wage structure of capped at 100k a week. They kind of made movements for Moises Caicedo because they thought, well, we need a CDM so badly, and this guy's wanted by Arsenal. He would have been offered more than that by Arsenal in terms of wages. We have to give him the 150k a week. If they probably saw Conor Gallagher long term as the midfield that's going to be, you know, part of the vision, the long sporting, tactical, footballing, philosophical vision, they'd probably give it, but maybe in their heads they see, you know, a double pivot of Caicedo and Enzo long term when Chelsea start playing like they want them to, and Nkunku in front of them, and Gallagher will just be a very useful squad player. Maybe, but if things goes on, if Chelsea start flying up the table and Conor gets a couple of goals, I reckon you just won't be able to, like, deny him any longer, and you have to pay him what probably is a reasonable 150k a week. No one's really going to go nuts about that. I do wonder, though, when they were negotiating Mason Mount, I think they originally offered Mason like the 200k a week, like the Reece James wages, and then they went down to 100k that Mason Mount didn't want. But Mason Mount at the time was a sort of, I don't say reliable goal scorer for Chelsea, but has shown he can offer goals and assists for Chelsea. Gallagher's shown that he can offer industry, loads of high turnovers, the odd assist, but he's not been a reliable goal scorer for Chelsea, and they probably look at him in terms of a tactical setup as more as an individual style player rather than a systemic team philosophy player. So long term, to give this guy massive wages for years and years to come, they want to make sure they don't regret it in terms of planning. There's largely speculative, but in terms of playing devil's advocate, that's the only place I can sit on it. Personally, I'll just give him 150k a week. The guy cares about Chelsea, he's always going to try. It's good enough for me. And that shows you how much we're in the trenches at the moment. Alright, let's move on. Next up, left back. People keep talking about left back. Are we going to sign a left back? Now, my position remains the same on this. I think we're good. Cucurella will be back in a couple of months, and Ben Chilwell is on the cusp of returning. We've already seen players do a job on that side. And to be honest, as more time goes on and I reflect on that, I am starting to think that's not good enough. Levi Colwill, you know, he's trying. He's a very talented young player that Liverpool, lest we forget, really wanted to sign Levi Colwill, and it's not really spoken about much, but Liverpool were prepared to throw the bag at Levi Colwill and him sort of be the long-term successor to Virgil van Dijk. That's kind of what their plan was. Klopp wanted that. Klopp apparently got him on the phone. But no, Chelsea signed him to a new long-term deal, and that was seen as a really, really good piece of business for Chelsea. They did well to get him, you know, locked down on one of these super long contracts. He's ours. Great young centre-back talent. Personally, I would love him partnering Wesley Fofana for the long term as a centre-back partnership. No disrespect to the Monaco boys in Badiashile and Disasi, but that's what I would like. But I don't want to see this guy playing left-back much longer. I understand at times he's done a few good bits there, but ultimately this is not the guy's game. And yes, Gusto had one and a half good games there, but he's just an excellent right back. So is Cucurella enough? And Cucurella can play right back as well, which we may need more than we think, by the way, with Reece James being out for a long time now. Cucurella does a job at right back, and then Chilwell comes back, and then you've got to be very careful with Chilwell. Just like James, let's be careful with these fullbacks. Let's stop injuring all our fullbacks. Martin's gone. Pochettino didn't fancy him as a left back. Maybe I think it was a physical stature thing, a bit too petite. Maybe. Do we sign a left back? Speculation is that it's an opportunity thing. If they find a left back that they could get on reasonable wages, that wouldn't cost a lot of money, then they would indeed sign a left back from Mauricio Pochettino. I'd be interested to see if that happens. I think we could just do with playing fullbacks in the fullback position now, but it is being spoken about, so I wanted to reference it here. Do leave your opinion on the fullback situation, and do you think it's worth signing a left back? Like, maybe Cucurella doesn't have a long-term future at Chelsea, I don't know, maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. Do you think it's worth getting another left back in, especially with Martin going to Dortmund? And, you know, the idea is that Martin's not coming back. He's going to Dortmund to inflate his value as an asset. He sort of understands he's not coming back to Chelsea. Chelsea understand he's not coming back. There's sort of a mutual agreement there. So what do you think? Do Chelsea sign a left back? Leave your comments down below and let's move on. Victor Osimhen, always in the headlines, whether he's saying stuff about Kvaratskhelia, is that how you say his name? His agent talking about Osimhen, and there's always controversy. Look, Victor Osimhen's a great striker. He's a proper number 9. I think he'd suit us more than, you know, Tony possibly. His buyout clause, I think, is £108 million. Recent Scudetto winner, 24 years old. Proper number 9. I understand how lots of teams will consider that, but while he's in this form, he's not gettable in January. Chelsea, I don't think, are going to buy a striker in January. Again, this was always listed as a priority, but with, you know, a sobering reflection how maybe Jackson isn't that bad, how maybe it's more of a team problem and a collective maturity problem. I know he's missed some sitters, but so is Cole Palmer now, do you know what I mean? He's an absolute baller. Nkunku will come back. Chelsea can play with other profiles up top. We are not in Europe, and the idea is that Chelsea are reflecting on their last January transfer window, where we broke all the records for a January transfer window in terms of spend, in the attempt or hope, incorrect hope, that Chelsea could chase a top 4 spot, that they could buy their way into Champions League qualification by overspending in January. We all know the story. We finished mid-table. So hopefully they've learned something from that, and Chelsea aren't chasing a top 4 spot at the moment, and bringing in loads of extra players often does not help your cause with that. In fact, it just complicates things, and everyone's still getting to know each other in the middle of the season, and there's just a load of disharmony. It's very unlikely Chelsea now sign a striker this month, but who knows, it's still Chelsea, stuff can happen late on, and if an opportunity arises, which sometimes it does when you're not sniffing around desperately, they might go for it. But for the moment, it doesn't look like that. So that generally is going around the theme of not chasing stuff. It will be opportunity. So maybe they loan Trevoh Chalobah, like Ian Matson. Maybe someone else goes out the door as well. And if they find an opportunity, again, they're not going to act desperate. They know where they are this season. They'll take it, whether it's a striker, whether it's a left back. I don't know if it's a midfielder, but that's how I feel. And also, they want to think about their current players. So let's end the video talking about that. With Chelsea's poor recent form, it's easy to say, oh, these players aren't good enough and we haven't got the right kind of squad. And it's easy to have that perception. But of course, Chelsea have 12 first-team injuries. There is an element of certain players coming in and changing the landscape of Chelsea's season for the second half of the campaign. Of course, the fullbacks, we can't rely on Reece James coming back until the end of the season. Ben Chilwell, I personally think, will be massive. I wonder if slowly, quietly, Wesley Fofana might get some minutes as well. I'm not sure we're going to be able to rely on him as a reliable midfielder selection in terms of recurring injury, but Romeo Lavia, if we can get him firing as a midfield option, that could represent something. Even Leslie Ugochukwu as backup to bring on as a closer when we're protecting a lead. The midfield options are there. An understated inclusion would of course be Carney Chukwuemeka, who was a starter over a very, very short amount of time before he got injured, but brought in. Pochettino looked to him thinking, you're the kind of profile that can make a difference in the final third, mid and final third of Chelsea's attack. He looked like that. Of course, he's tall and strong and technical, and he scored that great goal just before he got injured. He looks like he was a player that Pochettino could rely on and would be interested in. So even you could say Lavia, in the midfield with Carney Chukwuemeka on front and maybe Nkunku playing a striker. These are 3 players that are going to be brought back into the fold that could be really, really effective, As Chelsea, God, I know it sounds lame, but settle more, panic less. Hopefully that will come with time. As people's moods change, as the weather changes, the sun comes out, maybe, just maybe, things could come better. I feel like Nkunku, I know it was been regurgitated loads, largely from The Athletic as well. I know Liam Twomey wrote about this, but Chelsea in pre-season were stylistically building their attack around the combinational play of Christopher Nkunku. It looked like Mudryk played really well with Nkunku. It looked like Nicholas Jackson played really well with Nkunku. And actually, probably what you'd say is Nkunku played well with everyone. It was the Nkunku catalyst factor. And why wouldn't it be? He's the sort of exciting, high-profile, attacker that we signed that was the blockbuster man up top, And he would be the deciding factor in games where you've got the ball, playing between the lines. He would score goals himself because he's a lethal finisher who's excellent at finishing. He will make other players better. That was the idea, man. And, we haven't really seen combinational play between Cole Palmer and Christopher Nkunku. There's a lot of examples this season of Cole Palmer playing flat, through balls, diagonals, in good corridors, but no one there. And he's going, what are you doing? At Man City, even in the academy, intelligent players are running into that space. Though this embryonic Chelsea side, it's not there. Though you add Nkunku, intelligent attacking interplay player, he'll be there, and we could see better things. So Chelsea are still, you don't want to spend lots of money in January when you've got so many absent players. Because what are we going to look like when they're back? Really, the biggest questions at Chelsea at the moment probably isn't so much the transfer window, it's the medical team and it's the coaching, probably more of the mentality than tactics, I think, because the immaturity of Chelsea is really worrying. So let me know what you think. I wanted to speak about that. Comment down below. Thank you for liking and subscribing to Football Therapy, and hopefully I'll see you back here very soon. Peace.